Hello and welcome to the Melbourne Live Show. This is episode 128. Well, it's been a while, and first up, I think I finally fixed the microphone issue. So if you can hear me, make sure you leave a comment and let me know that you can hear me all right. Okay, and really glad that I kind of got this sorted out. It all comes down to having the right cables. And w- one of these days, what I'm going to do is I will do sh- an episode sharing with you all the entire setup that I have. Um, and I think it's going to be something that you can benefit from. So today, there are a few things we want to say. One is that we are into October, which means we are in the last quarter of the year. So, if you like, share with me what are some things that you will preserve. What are some of the things that you will want it to remain the same? And what are some of the things that you would want to change in preparation for what's coming up? Right? I like you to share with me in the comments if you can. If you're watching this live, share with me. I can see your comments as you type it. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, you can also leave a comment. Tell me what you're going to change or what you're going to preserve, right? And I will make sure to comment on that. All right. So today's session itself, what I want to talk to you about, it's the concept of it's e-learning actually more effective. Now we all know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, we all had to transfer or convert all our trainings instead of face to face into an online thing. So I think for many of us, what we did was we simply did what we supposed to do at the face-to-face context, and we just do it on Zoom. So think of it this way: instead of you doing the course or conducting the course in a face-to-face situation, right now you're doing it via Zoom. So actually, the only thing that has changed is just the medium, right? It's just the way that the entire course is being delivered itself. So I think what comes to mind is this question of, it's e-learning really effective? Because when I speak to some L&D folks, what they have been telling me is that they're saying things like, we're probably not going back to face-to-face training. And the reason why they cited is because one of it is they find that e-learning has been more effective. And in fact, one of the leadership training that I did in August, it it was supposed to be an in-person session, but because of um, minimizing and eliminating the risk of transmission, what happened was we have converted the entire session into an online learning, a synchronous learning using Zoom itself. And so the question is, it's e-learning really effective or not? Let's find out. Well, to find out, what I'd like to do is to take you back to this study in 1947. Well, incidentally, 1947, it's the birth year of someone who is very close to my heart. So 1947, the US Army actually conducted a research. What they wanted to do was they wanted to find out which way would the soldier learn best. So they actually had a training, and the training was to teach the soldiers how to read this thing called a millimeter. I beg your pardon, it's a micrometer. So they were supposed to be taught how to read a micrometer. And so based on that, they did a study. And so, when you want to do these experiments, you have to do it in such a way that you have some level of control. So what they did was that they created three types of learning. So the first one was essentially a film version. So the film version, what it included was a narrated demonstration of how to read the micrometer. Right. So that's basically it. So a a narrated demonstration of how to read the micrometer. So that was the first one. Now the second one, the second version was training that was actually taught in the classroom. So the instructor used the same script and included a demonstration using actual equipment along with the slides. Yeah, along with the slides. So essentially, the second one is a in-person session conducted by an instructor using the same script and including a demonstration of how to use the actual equipment. And the third version was created. This third version was a self-study paper lesson in which the text used are the same words as in the film, along with pictures with arrows to indicate the moving parts. So, what they did was they kind of assigned the learners randomly to one version each. And then they were tested to see whether they are able to read the micrometer. So at the end of the day, which group actually learned more? Well, before I get to the answer itself, I'd like to go back to what I shared with you earlier on about the training that I did for this group of leaders in August. So in August itself, we actually planned this session in March. And it was supposed to be carried out in March, but because of COVID-19 and the circuit breaker, so we decided that we are not going to run the session as an in-person session. But what we could do instead is we are going to leverage Zoom. And so when the person in charge of the training told me that we can continue with the training, but it has to be done via Zoom. Immediately, I let her know that it's not going to be a transfer of what we were supposed to do in the in-person training, and we're not just going to do the same thing in a virtual training. Because you need to understand that during the time when we are in class, we sometimes we tend to teach a bit more because we have that context and the setting that allows us to show and to provide more information. And so the thing that I really noticed was when we are doing in-person training, there tends to be more information given, as well as uh, it tends to be lesser engagement itself. And in a classroom setting, that it's possible because in the actual classroom, what happened is that you, as the instructor, you actually have a lot more control because you are able to read body language, you are able to read how the participants are responding, and you can also ask questions and get them to participate. And so that's something that you can do. And I kind of like that interaction when you're doing in person training. But when it comes to virtual training, at least here in Singapore, the many of participants prefer to have their camera turned off. And as an instructor, I absolutely hate it because I'm not able to ascertain your your visual expression. I'm not able to ascertain whether you understand, you do not understand, and that has taken away a lot of the interaction and the human touch. When you are trying to build rapport with the other person. And so, in the virtual setting, what we need to do, or at least what I shared with the person in charge, was that we can't do 2 full days back to back. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to change it into 4 half days, and these 4 half days will be conducted with breaks in between. So it's not going to be 4 half days back to back. Instead, it's going to be, 1 week, half a day, 1 week, the next week, half a day, the following week, half a day, and then the last week, half a day. And so when I convert the classroom teaching into a virtual teaching, a virtual training session itself, I had to change the presentation of information. I also have to change the type of activities, and I also have to change the way that you group people together. Because in the offline context, when you group people together and you see that there are certain people who do not participate as much as others in the discussion, you are actually able to you are actually able to single the person out, ask the person question, and prompt the person to talk. But in a virtual context, especially if you are doing Zoom and you have all these breakout rooms, you can only be in one breakout room, and you can't go to another one. And so the issue is you will have a situation whereby you are not able to see what's going on in the other room. And so there are limitations, right? So, in fact, I have people who were telling me that they find that e learning is actually less effective. But what do you think? Leave a comment in the leave your share with me your answers in the comments below. Do you find to be more effective e-learning? Do you find to be more effective or less effective? Let's go back to that case study that was done in 1947. So, was there a difference among the three groups? Once again, the three groups were: the first group is a filmed version. They essentially watch a narration of a script as well as a demonstration of how to use the micrometer. The second group was actually go through an actual classroom training whereby the instructor used the same script as the film and included an in-person demonstration of how to read the micrometer. And then the third version was a text version whereby they will read the text. And as they read the text itself, what they would do is they would actually get pictures with arrows pointing to the relevant section to let them know that how to read the micrometer. So what do you think? Which of these three groups came up tops? Well, the result is as follows. There were actually no differences in learning among the three groups. And so at the end of the day, if you compare group one, group two, group three, there is actually no difference. In other words, if you look at it from the other angle, e-learning can be as effective as in-person learning, right? And e-learning can also be as effective as just reading a manual. And so the better question is not whether is e-learning effective or not. The more important question is this: what methodology and what approach are you using to help your learner to be able to retain that information and then to be able to perform the task? Because for us as adult learners, as adult educators, what we're looking at really is to be able to equip the adult learner with the necessary skills to solve a problem and then to have them perform that task in order to solve that problem. So it's not about which medium it's better, it's about the different approaches that you will take when you move from one medium to another. So if you want to know more about in the online space when it comes to e-learning, how can you make it more effective? How do you make it as effective as in person, if not even more? If you want to know more about that, make sure you subscribe to this channel or follow me on Facebook. And if this video, if this episode has been useful, please give me a thumbs up or like button. And with that, I thank you so much and I will see you again. Let me know what you think of the microphone as well. Is today's audio good? If it is, give me a thumbs up. And with that, thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.